Jesus freak here. These are a couple things that came up in various YouTube comment threads. And the first one was someone was saying that Jesus gave disciples authority to do certain supernatural things, and therefore followers of Jesus should be able to call things into existence. And I said, first, the only entity in the cosmos that can defy the laws of nature is God. The disciples didn't have the permission to use this power willy-nilly because the power wasn't actually given to them. They were given the ability to be heard by God, basically. They were given God's ear. But the final choice, as if any sort of supernatural event would happen, belonged to God, and sometimes he said no! Because God is the final answer. And if he wants to say no, that's his prerogative. If the disciples had unlimited power, if it were up to the disciples to use the power of God, then how come they fail? Matthew 17. A guy who's got an epileptic son comes to Jesus and says, I asked your disciples to heal him, and they weren't able to. And Jesus makes it clear, the disciples could only do it if they asked God to do it on their behalf. This is verse 17 and 21. On howbeit this kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. They weren't doing it themselves. It wasn't them doing it. It wasn't that God had given them this supernatural power to do this. He gave them an audience. They still had to ask God to do it. And let's not forget Paul's thorn in the flesh. He was suffering from excruciating pain. And he kept saying, God, take this from me. And God said no. He asked him 3 times, take this away from me. He said, the weaker you are, the stronger I am. So this idea that, being a follower of Christ gives you magic powers or whatever, flies in the face of Scripture. And the other comment that I got some flack for was that I said there's no such thing as an open marriage. In any marriage, there's exactly 3 parties. A husband, a wife, and God, who makes it that holy. Open marriage is just an excuse to commit adultery. Another word for adultery is fornication. It's the same thing. Anything outside of marriage is... And anything outside the actual definition of a marriage is not a marriage. And anything outside of marriage, if you're sleeping around, is fornication. Sex is too special to use so casually. And before, yeah. Maybe that's why you're the 40-year-old virgin. Yeah, basically. Because I was too moral to take the opportunity when I had it. And I've only had one person who would have probably been willing to go that far. And on religious grounds, I said no. But back to the whole open marriage thing. There's no such thing as an open marriage because then there's more parties to it than there should be. You'll have people claim, they have such a fulfilling life in a non-traditional relationship. They're kidding themselves. The power of self-deception is strong. You have the husband, you have the wife, and you have God, who solemnizes it. And that's it. More than that, and there's no marriage. Less than that, and there's no marriage. I think that should be pretty obvious. Jesus, freak out.